You know the energy that powers our whole world? Well, it comes with a pretty big hidden price tag. And in this explainer, we're going to uncover the true cost of fossil fuels. Seriously, just think about that for a second. Try to name a big environmental problem. Smog in our cities, climate change. Odds are you can trace it right back to how we make and use energy. It's kind of wild, right? And that one idea, that's the key to understanding this whole challenge. Look around you. Your phone, the food you eat, literally everything in our modern world is built on energy. But that foundation, it's got some serious cracks. So today, we're going to look at the real and often invisible cost of that connection. So what are the true impacts of the fuels we use every day? It seems like a simple question, but the answer? Oh, it's anything but. It's kind of like peeling an onion. The impacts go way deeper than what you see on the surface, just layer after layer of consequences. So you ready? Let's start peeling. Okay, so first up, let's look at the most direct consequences. The environmental footprint of our energy choices, it's not some abstract idea. Nope, it's literally written all over the face of our planet. And it all starts with something you do about 20,000 times a day, without even thinking about it: breathing. Yeah, the very air that keeps us all alive. It's often the first casualty in our reliance on fossil fuels. Okay, so when we burn fossil fuels, we're basically releasing this cocktail of invisible troublemakers into the air. You've got things like sulfur and nitrogen oxides, SOx and NOx for short. Think of those as the main ingredients that cook up acid rain and that gross, soupy smog over big cities. Then there's particulate matter, which is just a fancy way of saying microscopic soot that gets deep into your lungs. And on top of all that, you've even got toxic stuff like mercury. And here's the thing, what goes up must come down. That pollution doesn't just hang out in the clouds forever. It falls back to Earth, seeps into our soil, gets into our crops, and eventually it makes its way into the water we all depend on. And it's not just what's coming out of the smokestacks either. I mean, producing energy is an incredibly thirsty business. It uses huge amounts of fresh water. And that's before you even get to the direct pollution from, awful oil spills or the actual mountains of toxic waste like coal ash that has to be stored somewhere forever. And of course, we're not the only ones paying the price here. Every polluted river, every patch of dirty air, every forest that gets cleared, it all has a direct and honestly a devastating ripple effect across the entire ecosystem. I mean, this is the stark reality of it. Every single time we dig or drill or mine for these fuels, we are essentially bulldozing natural habitats. For so many species, this isn't just a minor disruption. For them, it's game over, the end of the line. So all these environmental impacts, they're not happening in some far-off vacuum, right? They hit way closer to home. So now let's switch gears and talk about the direct human cost of our energy choices, everything from our health to our security. Yeah, this is not just some abstract problem. The pollution leads to very real health problems. We're talking asthma, heart conditions, especially for people living near power plants. And on a global scale, the fight over these resources can literally start wars. Plus, when you have to depend on other countries for your fuel, well, that creates all sorts of complicated national security issues. Okay, so the costs are obviously piling up for our planet, for wildlife, for us. The big question is, what's being done about it? Let's take a look at how the world is trying to respond. So, one of the biggest steps forward is something called the Paris Agreement. This was a huge international deal, where basically every country on Earth agreed to team up and fight climate change. The main goal? Keep the planet from warming up well below 2 degrees Celsius compared to how it was before the Industrial Revolution. That's a really critical number for the planet's health. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant balancing act. On one side of the scale, you've got all our emissions from factories, cars, you name it. On the other side, you have the Earth's natural ability to soak that stuff up, with its forests and oceans. The whole point of the Paris Agreement is to get that scale back in balance, to get to a point where we're not putting more carbon into the air than the planet can naturally handle. So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this: that price you pay for gas or on your electricity bill, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real cost of fossil fuels includes the health of our planet, our own health, and even our global security. There is so much more to talk about here, from the amazing rise of renewable energy to what our future power grid is going to look like. If you want to learn more about the future of energy, make sure you subscribe to Energy Simply Explained. We'll see you in the next one.